Martha Merck, born in Vienna in 1897, faced early orphanhood and found solace in the care of a modest family. Her life took an unexpected turn in 1919 when, at the age of 22, she encountered Mortis Fritsch, a wealthy 74-year-old department store magnate, marking the beginning of a romantic liaison despite their significant age gap. Under Fritsch's patronage, Martha ventured into the opulent world through lavish finishing schools in France and England. However, her heart veered towards engineer Emil Merck, with whom she engaged in a secret affair, complicating her ties with Fritsch. Following Fritsch's death in August of 1923, Martha inherited his entire estate nestled in the Vienna woods. The subsequent years saw her union with Emil. Their marital bliss, however, was short-lived as financial mismanagement depleted their newfound wealth within 2 years. The couple's notoriety soared in 1925 when Emil suffered a horrific injury, losing a leg in a woodcutting accident, suspiciously timed after Martha had secured an insurance policy on him. The ensuing legal battle, marred by allegations of self-harm and bribery, captivated the public's attention. Despite the Merrick's acquittal of insurance fraud charges, they were convicted of bribing officials, resulting in a brief incarceration. The public sentiment largely favored the captivating Martha, perceiving the insurance company's actions as attempts to evade payment through legal maneuvers. Eventually, the insurance company, having lost its legal battle, opted for an out-of-court settlement, compensating Martha and Emil handsomely. However, once the media frenzy died down and their fortune dwindled, coupled with the failure of Emil's entrepreneurial endeavors as an inventor, the Merricks found themselves facing financial hardship once more. The insurance company disbursed 30% of the insured amount, yet half of this was consumed by legal expenses. Depleted once more, the Merricks sought respite in Algiers for a period, where the cost of living proved more affordable. By this juncture, they had welcomed 2 children into their fold. Tragedy struck anew when Emil Merck, long plagued by illness following his leg amputation, passed away unexpectedly on July 31, 1932, thrusting Martha back into the public eye. Concern escalated when the children exhibited similar symptoms, culminating in the untimely demise of their 7-year-old daughter, shortly after Martha had secured a life insurance policy on their behalf. Despite mounting suspicion, Martha adeptly portrayed herself as a grieving widow and mother, garnering widespread sympathy and financial support. Adding to her windfall, her aunt, Suzanne Lowenstein, named Martha her sole heir before passing away in 1934, under circumstances mirroring those of Emil and her deceased daughter. With the inheritance exhausted, Martha ensnared tailor Felicitas Kittenberger as another victim. Persuaded to take out a life insurance policy naming Martha as beneficiary, Kittenberger met a swift demise, prompting her son to raise concerns and initiate legal proceedings. Subsequent investigations and exhumations unveiled Martha's sinister use of the toxic Xilio paste, freely accessible at the time, to poison all 4 victims. In a further bid for ill-gotten gains, Martha orchestrated a fictitious theft of valuable paintings, leading to her arrest. This publicized event prompted Kittenberger's son to voice his suspicions, catalyzing a thorough examination of the bodies, which confirmed thallium poisoning. Fortunately, Martha's surviving son, Alphonse, was identified as another intended victim of poisoning through insurance schemes, but was spared from harm. During her court proceedings, Martha Merrick feigned seizures and blindness, necessitating her transport to the courtroom in a specially adapted chair. Despite her theatrics, she received a death sentence from the jury on May 19, 1938. The court anticipated that Merrick, being a woman, would follow Austrian tradition where the federal president typically commuted such sentences to life imprisonment. However, with Austria's annexation to the German Reich under Adolf Hitler's regime, any hope for clemency was dashed. On December 6, 1938, Merrick met her fate as the inaugural individual to face the newly imported guillotine from Berlin to Vienna. Harry Powers, born Herman Drenthe in 1893 in the Netherlands, made his way to the United States in 1910. initially settling in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, before eventually relocating to West Virginia in 1926. In 1927, he entered into matrimony with Luella Strother, who owned a farm and grocery store. Their union began in response to Lonely Hearts advertisements placed by Luella. However, despite being married, Powers continued to publish his own Lonely Hearts ads. His solicitations attracted numerous responses, with postal records revealing an influx of 10 to 20 letters per day. Powers proceeded to construct a garage and basement at his residence in Quiet Dell, later revealed as the grim scene of the murders for which he was convicted. Under the pseudonym Cornelius Orvin Pearson, Powers initiated correspondence with Astor Eicher, a widowed mother of 3 in Park Ridge, Illinois. On June 23, 1931, he visited Eicher and her children, Greta, Harry, and Annabelle, and subsequently departed with Eicher for several days. During this time, Elizabeth Abernathy cared for the children under the assumption that Pearson would retrieve them, as per a letter received. However, when he arrived, he sent the children to the bank to withdraw money from Eicher's account, but failed due to a forged signature on the check. Ignoring concerns from worried neighbors, Powers claimed the family was on a European trip and swiftly left with the children. Later, Powers courted Dorothy Pressler Lemke from Northborough, Massachusetts, another Lonely Hearts advertiser seeking love. Convincing her to marry him, he accompanied her to Iowa and persuaded her to withdraw $4,000. Unbeknownst to Lemke, Powers diverted her trunks to Fairmont, West Virginia, under the alias Cornelius O. Pearson. Astor Eicher and her children and Dorothy Lemke vanished without explanation. In August of 1931, police commenced an investigation into the disappearances, focusing on Pearson emptying Eicher's house. Love letters discovered led them to Quiet Dell, where Pearson lived as Harry Powers with his wife. Powers was arrested, and a search of his Quiet Dell residence revealed a crime scene beneath Pearson's garage. Bloody clothing, hair, a burned book, and a child's small bloody footprint were found. An eyewitness informed the sheriff about a recently filled-in ditch on Powers' property, leading to the discovery of the bodies of Astor Eicher, her children, and Dorothy Lemke. Autopsy results indicated that the 2 girls and their mother were strangled, while the young boy suffered fatal head injuries from a hammer. Lemke, the last victim uncovered, was also strangled with a belt still around her neck. Love letters found in Powers' car trunk revealed a pattern of deceit, indicating his intent to steal money and commit murder, mirroring his actions with his most recent victims. Shortly after his arrest, Powers sustained 2 black eyes and bruising, reportedly the result of a fall down the staircase during his interrogation. On September 20th, 1931, a lynch mob made an attempt to seize Powers from the jail, but was dispersed using fire hoses and tear gas. Following this incident, Powers was transferred to the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville. His 5-day trial unfolded at the local opera house due to the substantial number of spectators. Numerous witnesses presented evidence found in Powers' residence, his interactions with the victims, and his handling of their luggage. Powers himself even testified during the trial. However, on December 12, 1931, he received a death sentence, and he was executed by hanging on March 18, 1932. Henriette Caillou, born Henriette Raynouard on December 5, 1874, married writer Leo Clarty at 19, despite a 12-year age gap. They had 2 children before Henriette began an affair with Joseph Caillou in 1907, while both were still married. She divorced Clarty in 1908, but Caillou faced more challenges in divorcing his wife. They eventually married in October of 1911. Henriette described her second marriage as the source of the most complete happiness, with their combined assets totaling around 1.5 million francs, making them one of France's wealthiest couples. The wealth afforded them a life of great comfort. However, the circumstances of their marriage, coupled with the intense public scrutiny from political adversaries, exposed them to accusations of moral corruption. While serving as Minister of Finance, Joseph Caillou faced harsh criticism from his political adversaries. One of his fiercest critics was Gaston Calmet, the editor of Le Figaro newspaper. Calmet obtained a letter belonging to Caillou that, according to journalistic norms of the time, should not have been made public. The letter seemed to suggest that Caillou had manipulated the rejection of a tax bill while pretending to support it publicly. Calmet decided to publish the letter at a crucial moment when Caillou, as Minister of Finance, was advocating for a progressive taxation law in the French Senate. The publication of the letter severely damaged Caillou's reputation and caused significant political turmoil. Henriette Caillou feared that Gaston Calmet would publish more private letters revealing her intimate relationship with Joseph Caillou while he was still married to his first wife. She believed that the only way to protect her husband's reputation was to challenge Calmet to a duel, even though she knew this would lead to the destruction of both their lives. On the evening of March 16, 1914, Madame Caillou went to the offices of Le Figaro wearing a large fur coat and fur muff, asking to see Calmet. She was informed that he was away, but would return shortly. When she was finally ushered into Calmet's office around 6 p.m., she asked if he knew why she had come. Calmet said no, and immediately after, Henriette Caillou shot him 6 times with a Browning automatic pistol, fatally wounding him. Despite making no attempt to escape, Henriette was quickly apprehended by newspaper workers, and the police were summoned. Refusing to be touched, she tried to defend herself, lamenting that there is no longer any justice in France, but was told to be quiet. Insisting on being driven to the police headquarters in her own car by her chauffeur, she was charged upon arrival. Gaston Calmet passed away 6 hours after being shot. After garnering significant publicity and undergoing a thorough investigation, Henriette Caillou's trial commenced at the Paris court on July 20, 1914, quickly becoming a focal point of French news. The trial, marked by a sexual scandal involving a high society French lady and a crime of passion, received twice as much coverage in Le Temps as the ongoing July crisis that eventually led to the outbreak of the First World War, even just 3 days before hostilities began. The nature of the court, with its relaxed legal and procedural constraints, lent an air of drama to the trial. It was believed that under certain circumstances, such a trial could provide a more gripping spectacle than any theater production. The public opinion regarding the assassination was sharply divided along political lines. The left suggested that Calmet's character assassination had driven Madame Caillou to a temporary state of insanity, while the right portrayed her as a calculated murderer who silenced a critic at her husband's behest. The trial featured unprecedented events, such as a deposition by President Raymond Poincaré, a rare occurrence in criminal proceedings, and the involvement of many influential figures from French society. Adding to the intrigue, Henriette's husband threatened to release affidavits alleging that Poincaré was behind the press campaign against him. If convicted, Madame Caillou could have faced life imprisonment with hard labor or even the death penalty. However, she aimed to persuade the jury of extenuating circumstances to secure a lesser sentence. Throughout the trial, she depicted herself as a victim of overwhelming emotions beyond her control, attributing her actions to uncontrollable impulses. This defense strategy, combined with the traditional narrative of women being governed by their passions, ultimately led to her acquittal on July 28, 1914. Henriette Caillou passed away in 1943. Stilla Christofi entered the world in Cyprus, born into a Greek family. Raised in a secluded and petite village, she lacked any formal schooling. Christofi eventually wed and bore a son named Stavros. Her husband, among the most impoverished in the community, sustained the family through meager earnings from a small olive grove they possessed. In 1925, Christofi faced arrest and accusations of murdering her mother-in-law by forcefully inserting a lit torch down her throat following heated arguments between the two women. Reports vary. Some claim she was acquitted, while others suggest the court deemed her actions a result of severe provocation, leading to a decision against imposing criminal penalties. Afterwards, her son Stavros departed the village for Nicosia, where he secured employment as a waiter. By 1941, having amassed sufficient savings, he journeyed to Britain, eventually making London his home. There, he secured a position as a wine waiter at Café de Paris, an esteemed establishment in London's West End. Stavros tied the knot with Hella Bleicher, a German-born fashion model, and together they welcomed 3 children into their lives. In 1953, Christofi traveled to London to reunite with her son Stavros after a 12-year separation. However, adjusting to her new life proved challenging, leading to frequent conflicts with her daughter-in-law. Christofi harbored resentment towards the upbringing of her grandchildren, who were being raised without much consideration for their Greek heritage. She often criticized Hella's parenting decisions and would erupt into fits of anger. By July of 1954, Stavros and Hella decided it was best for Christofi to leave. Hella planned to take the children to Germany for a visit, while Stavros intended to persuade his mother to return to Cyprus. Sensing the impending separation, Christofi concocted a plan to eliminate Hella, believing it would allow her to raise the children according to her own beliefs. On the evening of July 29, 1954, while Stavros was away at work and the children were asleep, Christofi encountered Hella in the kitchen as she went about her tasks. Without warning, Christofi struck Hella on the back of her head with an ash pan from the boiler, rendering her unconscious. She then proceeded to strangle Hella to death with a scarf, removing her wedding ring in the process. Afterwards, Christofi dragged Hella's lifeless body to the back garden and attempted to cremate it by dousing it with paraffin and igniting it. The flames caught the attention of their neighbor, John Young, who happened to be walking his dog nearby. Despite witnessing Christofi burning what appeared to be a human figure, Young assumed it was a mannequin and, seeing Christofi tending to the fire, thought nothing of it, seeing no cause for concern. The blaze quickly escalated beyond Christofi's control, prompting her, despite her limited English proficiency, to dash into the street seeking assistance. After some searching, she encountered a couple sitting in a parked car near a railway station. Frantically, she pleaded, "Please come, fire burning, children sleeping." Upon arriving at the scene, the couple promptly contacted the fire brigade, who, upon discovering Hella's lifeless body in the garden, alerted the police. The police initiated an investigation and uncovered damning evidence implicating Christofi. Examination of Hella's body revealed telltale signs of strangulation, while hastily cleaned bloodstains and paraffin-soaked materials were discovered strewn across the kitchen floor. Additionally, John Young, the neighbor who had observed Christofi tending to the fire, came forward to provide crucial information to the authorities. Moreover, the absence of Hella's wedding ring did not go unnoticed. It was later located in Christofi's bedroom, with no plausible explanation offered by her to account for its presence. Christofi was apprehended under suspicion of murder and faced interrogation. Her account during questioning depicted a scene of awakening to the smell of smoke, discovering Hella ablaze downstairs, attempting to douse the flames, and finding Hella unresponsive. Subsequently, Christofi was charged and detained at HM Prison, Holloway. Her trial commenced at the Old Bailey on October 28, 1954. Despite the defense's plea of insanity, the jury dismissed it, ultimately delivering a guilty verdict. Mr. Justice Devlin sentenced Christofi to death. Efforts for clemency saw limited traction. Notably, executioner Albert Pierpoint remarked in his autobiography that Christofi's case failed to attract significant media attention or sympathy due to the lack of glamour compared to other figures like Ruth Ellis. Christofi's final request for a Greek Christian Orthodox cross in the execution chamber was granted, remaining until the room's dismantling in 1967. Even her son, Stavros, distanced himself, expressing an inability to forgive her. On December 13, 1954, Christofi met her fate at Holloway Prison, where Albert Pierpoint and his assistant Harry Allen carried out her execution. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing by clicking the red subscribe button below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.